This is episode number 3, and today we're going to do a Q&A on each other. So for those of you out there that do not know our backgrounds, this is the opportunity that you will be able to listen in and know about what's going on, how we got started, and how we met. So I'm going to start, and Willie, let's see what's going on in your background. How did you get started?
Well, Michelle, by the way, I'm Willie Morales, and that's Michelle Wong. We're the host and co-host of WorkYourMoney.net, and also we're going to be presently on iTunes, so you can leave a review, hopefully a positive review. Anyway, getting back to the show, one of the ways I got started in business, I was told by a sales rep. I used to work at Mount Sinai Hospital, and someone had said, "Hey, why don't you get into real estate?" And I had no interest at the time, none whatsoever. I think like a year or two later, I went to a real estate wealth and expo show at the Jacob Javits Center. This was late 2006. So from that point on, I got hooked on real estate. But, I didn't know anything about it. I mean, I had.
Did you pay anything?
Yes, I did. I bought my first home study course for like $1,000.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And listen, I didn't know any better. And to this day, I almost don't know any better.
So
but
was it one of those things that you read it, you got excited, then it's like, okay, put it on the shelf?
Yeah, I put it on the shelf. I took old notes. I listened to it. It was like 15 to 20 CDs, and I won't do that again because, oh my God, it's like each CD was like an hour long. I mean, like a regular music CD, 80, 90 minutes, something like that. So I did that, but then I got more education. But the problem was I was hooked on going to seminars. So I was going to like one or two.
So you were a seminar junkie.
I was a seminar junkie for a long time. From, I say 2006 to about maybe 2008. So I was going.
Oh, so you were just at the peak of
exactly
before the crash.
Yeah. I didn't know anyone that was doing real estate. What was frustrating was I didn't know where to begin. So I was into the new shiny object. I wanted to do wholesale. Then I wanted to do buy and hold. Then I wanted to do tax liens.
So you were doing the juggling act.
Yeah, I wanted to do buy and rehab. I got hooked up on those HGTV shows where they do, the fix and flip shows. Flip that house, flip this house.
So at that point, did you just start by yourself? Or?
Yeah, at the time, so this was 2006, 7. In 2008, I remember I approached my friend Marvin. It's a friend of mine, and Michelle met him. And I had went to a seminar one time, and I bought like a DVD. And it was these young gentlemen in New Jersey who were organized. They had paperwork done, down packed. They had what they wanted. They had a bunch of their friends who put in all $5,000, so they had cash to buy properties. Mm-hmm. So when I saw this, I spoke, Marvin, my friend, was the first guy I talked to. But here's the problem, people. He wanted to bring in one of his buddies. Then he wanted to bring another one of his buddies. And before you know, we went from 2 to 6 people, which was fine. Because I'm thinking everybody has an assignment. Then nobody wanted to do anything. And I remember I told one of the guys, I said, listen, if we buy a property and we don't have a tenant, we got to pay that mortgage. It's under our name. And they were looking at me like I was,
That's insane.
And they were looking at me like I was crazy. I'm like, that's how it works. It's under our name. We're renting it out. So it quickly dissolved. One guy dropped out.
From a one-man show to a two-man show to a six-man show.
And back down to a one-man.
One-man show,
which was
being
me.
a lone wolf. Okay.
Exactly. And that was the frustrating part because, you try to do marketing, mail. It's just too much.
It's really hard unless you have a system in place.
Right. So I had some systems in place, but not enough. So fast forward, 2010, I remember I met this gentleman in Philadelphia. I met him at a local meetup, and he provided not turnkey properties, but properties that basically needed work, but he provided the construction and all that. I forgot the name of the company. I think it's Fiverr Corp, Fever Corp, something like that. I don't even know if they're in business. But anyway, there was a couple of properties that I was interested in, and I made a bid. But, these were bank-owned properties, so you had to pay full price of whatever the bank wanted. Wasn't I was dealing with the seller, So, you know what I mean? So it was...
I understand that. So basically, you had to go through the bank instead of going through the seller, so...
Right, and this guy had connections with banks. So for him, it was pretty easy to get, he had the hookups. He knew people. So a couple of properties I had in mind I wanted to get. One was, which at this time now I wouldn't do it, but it was a 3-family. But the problem was, Michelle, that each floor was 1 bed, one bathroom.
Oh, okay.
So
it was like a studio setup or what?
No, it was really 1 bedroom. But the problem was you either had only a couple and that's it, or a single person. You know what I'm saying? For each room, you couldn't have a family.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah. There's a restriction with the space.
Exactly. So that deal fell through because I didn't have enough liquidity in my bank account. I needed at the time my money was in an IRA.
So is this around the time that you started to have a financial mishap with your family member?
Yes, it was around that time, because later on that year in 2010, that's when I co-signed a loan for a couple of family members, my brother-in-law and niece. And the following year in 2011, while I'm still studying and trying to make offers, I ended up being $50,000 in debt.
So that kind of so you basically went backwards.
Big time backwards.
But financially, while trying to get ahead with doing some type of investment.
Exactly. So and so while that happened to me, and I'm all of a sudden I'm in the hole. My salary at the time was $42,000, and I was $50,000.
So you're basically
I was negative.
So you're in the negative, and then some.
Yeah, and my credit score dropped like 100 points from the mid 750s, 760s to like 6-something, 650, 640, because I was.
Oh my God. And you had good credit.
And I had good credit, yeah. And I was not going to file bankruptcy.
And maybe some people might disagree on that, but unless you have a lot of assets that they have to take in consideration that that might affect it, you don't file for bankruptcy.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to do that.
That's really going to make you start all over again.
Right. And I wasn't going to do that.
You can salvage that.
Anyway, so fast forward to 2015, where we have our first property in Ohio with a couple of investors. So that's where I'm at now. And now we're working in Philadelphia. And we, as of today's show, July 13th, we made 8 offers on 8 different properties. So we'll see where it goes.
And we're also working in the Virginia market. We're scoping it out, and we're also going to be working in that area. But the good thing about it is that we have connections with
especially
people
in Philadelphia, and in Virginia.
So that are residents that are there that would be able to check things out for us. But not only that, we also have now a team where we have, on top of that, we have a realtor or a bird dog or whatever you want to call it. And then
like a property scout and stuff like that.
Yeah, you have property managers, you have title company, you have an attorney. So we have some stuff in place. So that
it'll make it easier for us. Yeah. So I got into debt in 2011. I started reading more about financial books, reading financial books, learning about finance. But I realized that, up until like last year, the year before, 2015, 2014, I had more like a hobby. I didn't really have a business. Because with a business, you got to have structure, you got to have bank accounts, you got to have, systems in place. So that's where I'm at now. We finally got some systems in place. Where we can make offers. We have people writing letters for us. We have, we use, software to, send out direct mail, like a click to mail. That's CLICK2, the number 2, mail.com. That's what we use, to send direct mail. So now I could say that I have a business. But, I still need to work on my organization skills in terms of paperwork and all that. But
that goes in given time, and have your business fully functional and running. Honestly, a lot of, and these are people that have had businesses for years. They usually say it's between 2 to 5 years, minimum 2 years to really establish yourself, to 5 years to get your business growing to that capacity.
No, exactly, because from 2011 to 2015, all I was spending was, besides getting educated on real estate, I wasn't really doing anything because I was in debt. My goal was to pay down the debt. I needed reserves and stuff and cash to make offers or to have it, just in case if I need it. You got to have reserves. And that's when I started learning about the JAR system that we talked about on our last show. But, so pretty much this is where I'm at now, where at least we got systems in place, and I can say that we have a business. I met Michelle in 2015. And we pretty much complement each other because, I handle the real estate side. Michelle handles the social media side and networking events. But, getting now to Michelle, how did you start? Where did you go, and what were your struggles?
I basically had an interest in real estate since, I think, back in 2001, 2002. You didn't have the technology that you had now. This is a time where you basically had to physically go outside, or you had to get on the phone and you had to call.
I heard about that, yeah.
So things were different at that time. I was going through college. I was working in retail. I was working at Macy's at the time.
Okay.
And real estate piqued my interest. I have family that are developers, architects, engineers, contractors.
Right.
My father wasn't in real estate, but he was an air conditioning engineer. So was my uncle, and so was my step grandfather. So that type of business was always in my family. The thing was that my parents in particular didn't have an interest in business.
Okay.
So I had that bug for the real estate. So I started to get attracted more to real estate. I had a conversation one time with a coworker, and I was telling her that I wanted to see how I can get started in real estate. And she told me that I can enroll in, different levels of certification and stuff. Right. So I went to the College of Staten Island, and they offered real estate. Back then, you had to take it like if you were taking it in college. You would go once or twice a week in the evenings for I think like 2 or 3 hours. I don't remember exactly. And then you were there for like maybe 3 months, 4 months until you completed and at that time, it wasn't even 75 hours. At that time,
wasn't it 45
hours?
Yeah, now it's 75.
Yeah, so 45 hours at that time felt like eternity. Like you were there maybe once a week, and you were there for a couple of hours. So, it got to that point.
Yeah, now you're there eternally because you're 75. Woo.
Yeah, so that's how
that's the
it
new,
was.
Yeah.
No, but now it goes in a blink of an eye. But back then, at that time, it just felt like forever.
I had fun because I did get my license. I only had it for a short period of time, but it was good education because you learned the laws.
Yeah, we
learned
the laws and regulations. Some of the stuff is still the same. But now there's certain changes that went on since the crash. So now there's certain things that were implemented that they have now. So that's why they included an extra 30 hours.
Let me ask you a question. So while you were doing that, did you experience any pitfalls?
What happened was that at that time, when I went to get my real estate license as a salesperson, I did not sit in for the exam, which was stupid in my end.
What happened?
And I don't know. It's just I had a lot of family stuff that went on. Life went on. And ironically enough, when I went to get my real estate license now, that was like 2 years ago. What happened at that point was I had a former friend who is a real estate broker, and he was successful on his own. He was doing this for a few. He was not from here. He was from Greece.
Okay.
And he talk about changing your life. He came from Greece as an attorney, professor, and he basically started from scratch, got into real estate, built himself until he became a broker, opened up his own brokerage firm, and he started to do investing. Okay. So when I met him, we never discussed that.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
I knew that he was a real estate investor, broker, but he didn't know that I had some knowledge of real estate. We always talked about everything else but that.
Did you seek him out as a mentor, or
no? And I'll tell you a little bit more about this particular story that kind of falls into place with everything else that I'm doing.
Okay.
So we had a conversation one day, and basically we were talking about a few things. He started to talk to me about real estate. I started to, like in that conversation, I kind of gave my input about real estate and real estate investing and all of that. So he then was taken aback that I had knowledge of real estate.
But at that time, you hadn't invested in a property yet.
I haven't done anything. I didn't even go back to school. We were having this conversation about. At that point, I was thinking of becoming a physician assistant because I was in the medical field, and I said, you know what, I can't go into medical school. I'm getting pretty old. So let me go into school as a physician assistant because it's only like 2 years, 2.5 years.
Right.
And the process is short term.
Right.
So we had this conversation, and again, we were talking about real estate, and I started to give him input, my perspective, this and that. And then he said to me, he says, listen, people love talking to you. You have knowledge in real estate. Why don't you become a real estate agent and work your way up so that you can become a broker or get into real estate investing?
Okay.
So then that's where I thought about it.
From then you got that bug.
Yes. And what happened was that I started to think, what if, because I kind of left it in the back of my mind all of those years. So then I said, you know what? I should take a shot at it. I enjoy real estate more than I do medical.
What happened after that?
The plan was that I was going to go and become a sales agent and also learn investing through him. He offered to mentor me once I went through school. He said, listen, go to this particular school. He told me go to NYREI. I recommend it. I looked it up.
Yeah, that's in New York City.
It's a very good school.
It's a real estate school to get your salesperson license. I took classes there, but
overall, like most of the people that I know, they all recommended it. I looked online. I saw that it was a good school. So I said, okay, you know what? I'll go for it. So I went, started taking the classes. It took me about 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, because I was working at the time as well. So I had to, after work go and take the courses. So he was pretty enthused about it. And then I said, listen, can I shadow you? Can I follow you around and all of that?
So what was the things you saw that made you realize, I don't know if this is the guy for me?
So this is what went down. There were 3 things. See, it's kind of like baseball, 3 strikes and you're out type of thing.
Throwing in the metaphor there. Go ahead.
The first thing that I noticed, and that was a big red flag, was he does commercial and residential real estate. So he had tenants that were occupying an office space. Okay. And one day I walk in and I was in the process of getting more familiar with real estate and the ins and outs and all of that. So I go in and I walk in to his office, and he comes and he asks me if I can talk to my friends, because I have friends that are attorneys.
Okay.
And being in the medical background, I got to get to know a lot of people in the legal realm. So I knew a lot of attorneys. So he said to me, hey, by any chance, do you still speak to so-and-so, your friend who's an attorney? I said, yeah, I do. I haven't spoken to him in the last week, but what's up? So he tells me, he goes about telling me the story. So he tells me that he wants to sue his client, but he also, he wants to countersue the client, but he's getting sued himself, and he wants to know to get some kind of legal advice. And I said, but you're going to have to tell me a little bit more of the story.
Oh, the story, okay.
So that this is where he starts to explain to me that he charged the tenant X amount of dollars for the square footage. You know how in New York, if it's, if you have, 5,000 square feet and each square foot is 65, you do the total.
Right.
Commercial real estate is
sure,
like that.
Sure.
So anyway, long story short, he's telling me that he knowingly told them a false square footage, the total square footage, and overcharged them for the monthly rent.
No.
And he had a contract and everything. And
what was the square footage? The actual compared to?
I have no idea. I think it was a difference of.
I
think it was a difference of about 1,000 square feet.
And if it's a couple of $100 per square foot?
No, because the thing was that they went and they measured it and they saw that they were, there was a difference of 1,000 feet than what was claimed in the contract.
Wow.
And they were getting charged, I don't know if it was $1,500 or $2,000 more than what they were supposed to pay. So they, I guess they did the math, they followed through and all of that. So what they did was they did not pay for that because it was 1,000 square feet less.
Yeah.
They did not pay whatever that difference is. So he got upset.
Wow.
And he said, I'm going to evict you. I'm going to take you to court. But then they said, no, you cannot because you're overcharged us.
But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut off, but the tenants, I don't know, was there a property inspection? Did they look around?
I don't know the whole story. This is what he was telling me.
Wow.
Okay, but he actually admitted, and then I'm looking at him and I'm saying,
I don't think so. Red flag. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
That is not kosher. That's being shady. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And this is the funny part. The funny part about all of this is that he admitted it. He willingly knew that what he was doing was wrong. Then he wanted to get legal advice from my friend. And I said, I'm going to tell you right now, you don't need an attorney because I can tell you what the deal is with here. Be lucky that they do not suspend your license or even revoke it because what you're doing is illegal. Because ethically and morally, that's wrong. You're not supposed to do that. Legally, that's real estate 101. You don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't do that. And I asked him, I said, do you have a contract? He goes, yeah, I have a contract. And it says that the total square footage is $1,000 more. It's actually written in the document. He says, absolutely. It's that they signed off on it. I signed off on it. And it says the price that you charge them. He says, that's correct. I said, I could tell you right now that they're going to dismiss your counter. And there's a possibility that you can go and have your license suspended. And if they see that you've been doing this, if you have a habit of doing this prior to this incident, you know that they're going to revoke you.
But you telling him this, what did he say?
No, he played it off. You know what it is. He just played it off, and he said, you could tell on his face that he was a little shaken up by it. But the funny thing is that there was an attorney present in the room when we had this conversation, but she was an attorney in Russia. And she was listening, and she says, she's absolutely right. What you're doing is illegal. And that was the first thing that I was like, Strike number one.
Strike number one. All right. So then what was strike 2 and 3?
Okay. So strike 2 was the situation that he had with a tenant. The tenant, somewhere along the line, the tenant started stealing from him, stealing his checks. Because he had a couple of properties, he had a couple of properties that he was getting the tenants paying rent.
Right.
So the rent was coming to his house instead of the business or.
So that was strike 2?
No. Oh. But this is the crazy part. He wanted to, evict her and deport her because of the fact that he was, that she was stealing from him and all of this stuff. But I was like saying to myself, the reason why she did this is because you must have done something wrong.
Right.
And that kind of made me feel a little awkward with him. And the third incident.
So wait a minute. So the first 2 strikes, you still give him the benefit of the doubt because you figured no, yes, did you?
No, well,
when did you decide? Hey, I'm out of here.
No, it was
strike 3.
Strike 3.
Okay, and
strike 3 was what was the situation? It was similar to the first one.
With the tenant.
Yes, okay. It was a situation where he was asking me for information about, because he had an investor. And the investor wanted a restaurant, and he was looking for X amount of square feet, and he was looking for a certain budget. So long story short, I recommended through some sources of mine, I knew of a space, and he went to check it out and everything. Apparently everything was good. But then he started to give me the runaround. He told me that he didn't want to deal with the person that was in charge because she might go behind his back and, all this drama.
Okay.
And
so then what happened next?
And I told him, I said, listen, are you going to go forward with this or not? No, I'm not going to go forward because, I'm not, she's not being, I feel like she's being a snake. And I'm saying to myself, okay, this is the funny part. You're thinking that person is going to backstab you, but what do you call what you did to the other people?
Yeah.
Along the way that they got upset with you.
So, fast forward now, is this guy still in business or?
I had no idea.
And when did you leave?
I only had him as a friend. He was a former friend.
Okay.
He wanted me to work with him in his firm. When I started to see the situation, this is before I actually sat and got my license. I made it the conscious decision of saying, I am going to have to step away. And I had this talk with him. I told him, I said, listen, no hard feelings, but I don't think I can work with you because what you do is very shady. And from there, I just decided to walk away friendship-wise too because overall, it's just, you can't be with that person.
No. And you saw it coming. You did. Because you saw the first 2 strikes. You go, wait a minute. This is real shady here. So, and then you saw strike 3.
Overall, fast forward, I went into my first boutique. That was an experience all on its own. It went for 3 months. They said that they were going to have training after a month or a month and a half in. That training was no longer available. There was change of staff. What I mean by that is the broker left, the upper management left. When you see that going, that
then it's time to
So I went, changed from there. Then I started with an auction company. Everything was cool there, but the broker at the time that was overseeing New York and the CEO and the owner of the auction company. They didn't see eye to eye.
Right.
They needed some kind of financial backing to open up the company, and the owner didn't feel like he needed to put anything down. And the broker was saying, and in some instances, I can understand where the broker is coming from because they're trying to expand. So, and I just.
So where are you now in terms of business? What do you have going on? I mean, obviously we work together, but.
I started with a friend of mine that was also in the real estate firm.
Sure.
We decided that we were going to partner up and do this as a business venture to get into real estate investing. She said, she had to change her heart. She said, listen, this is not for me. Not at this moment. I have to take a step back because I am not ready for it, and I don't know how you feel about it. But I need to take a step back because I'm feeling overwhelmed. So I told her, that's cool. I don't push people to do something they don't want to do or feel comfortable with. And I moved forward, and I basically said to her, I am going to continue doing this. I have to see if I make it to the end. Okay. So I just kept going. I've had my ups and downs. In the last episode, I told you that I had a little bit of a lapse financially because of, buying things here and there and helping out family members and stuff. But now I have no debt, so I'm good.
Okay, good for you. Good for you.
I'm in a good, happy place.
All right.
And the other thing I'm concentrating now is like you. I'm trying to keep moving that system in place.
Yeah.
Keep moving, the company in place.
Little by little.
Keep moving
that's what we're
everything
doing.
forward.
Yeah.
And that's it. Just keep doing my networking, keep connecting with people, keep doing business. That's the sum up.
All right. Well, that's an interesting story. So for those of you who want to start their own business, there's a book I like to recommend. It's on Entrepreneur Press. You can go to entrepreneur.com, and it's called Start Your Own Business. I think it's the 5th or 6th edition. And Michelle, as you can see in this book, it's probably like a couple of thousand pages. It's about 700, give or take, but it's pretty much the basics on how to start a business from A to Z. And how you get funding, the systems in place. Definitely go and get this book. It's called Start Your Own Business, and it's by Entrepreneur Press. Check it out.
So guys, until the next time, this is Michelle Wong.
And Willie Morales.
Good night.
Take care, everyone. Bye.